Wow, okay guys, it's been like 4 months since I've uploaded. I'm sorry, school and life has been busy, but hopefully I can start posting videos again. Keyword hopefully though, no promises. This next video will either be out in a week or in 2026, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, now that it's 2025, that means it's time to rank my top 25 coasters. This year, I reached over 200 different coasters ridden, meaning that every coaster on this list is in the top 12%. I do want to preface that many of your favorite coasters may not be on this list today, simply because I just haven't ridden them. Most notably, I have not been on Eltoro, Velocicoaster, or any coaster outside of Poland or the United States. So with that said, let's jump into it. Number 25 is going to be Skyrocket at Kennywood. This is one of the most underrated rides I have ever been on. Sure, the ending sucks, but the rest of the ride is so good. Starts off with a great launch and an elite top hat. And then we've got what might be the best zero-G roll I've ever been on. And then an insane drop off the mid-course that gives wild ejector airtime. After this, the ride does suck. It looks like someone was just using the presets in Planet Coaster and then called it a day. So that, and the sucky restraints, puts this at 25 and not higher. Then, at 24, we have Goliath at Six Flags Great America. Don't get me wrong, I love RMC, and this is a stellar ride. But, come on RMC, you can do better than this. It's only got 2 airtime moments and 2 inversions, and that's basically the entire ride. That being said, those inversions are really, really well done, especially the dive loop. It's awesome, you're just hanging there for what feels like forever, and the speed hill is also pretty awesome. Also, any ride done by RMC is always gonna be a great ride, so the only real flaw is that it's short and then it has a boring name. Now, at number 23, we have another RMC, and that's gonna be Twisted Colossus. I don't want to harp on these rides too much because they are really good rides, but I'd be lying if I said this ride didn't disappoint me. This ride was made to duel, and out of the 8 rides I got, or the 16 dueling opportunities, I only dueled 3 times, and only one of them was an actual perfect duel where we were exactly lined up side by side. Aside from that disappointment, the layout is pretty solid, with the Top Gun stall and the high 5 elements being the best parts. Unfortunately, those were designed to be dueling moments, and when you aren't dueling, it just doesn't hit nearly as hard. Nonetheless, this is still a great ride with some great airtime and fun inversions. Now it's time to piss you guys off. Number 22 is Sky Rush, and I'll be honest, this ride sucks. Let me explain. I rode this in 2022 with the old thigh crush restraints, which come down so tight on your thighs that you just can't get any airtime. The bank turns are forceful and fun, but the restraints ruin any sensation of airtime you would get otherwise. So why is it here at number 22? Well, this coaster has the single best moment on any coaster that I've ever been on, and that is the first drop. I have no idea what they were smoking when they designed this ride, but halfway down the first drop, you get jerked forward so hard it almost hurts. It feels like you're riding a bull, but the bull snorted a line of beforehand. It is my favorite moment on any coaster ever, and because of that one single moment, it deserves a spot on this list. At number 21, I have Magnum XL200. This ride has really grown on me over the years. I used to hate it, and now it's one of my favorite rides. The first half is a little boring, I'll admit that, but it's not terrible. You get some decent floater on the hills, and you get a nice view of the beach. But then you get to the second half, and my god, is the second half good. It literally tries to kill you. The airtime is so strong and so intense, it actually hurts every single hill. It's amazing. It's also a really fun night ride because you're going right up against the ocean and you just get the beautiful scenery. If you don't mind a little pain, it's a great experience, though I do understand why many people dislike this ride. Now at number 20, we have Formula at Energylandia. I've already talked a little bit about this ride in a previous video, so I'll keep it brief here. This is just a full package experience. Good airtime, good positives, fun launch, and decent theming. It really shows what Vekoma can do, and the fact that this is one of their smaller models is really showing what they'll be able to do with their larger models, such as the Shockwave, Wildcat, and Till coasters. Now at number 19, I have Voyage. This ride is super overrated. And now, I've never been to Hollywood Nights, but I have been on this ride 30 plus times in my life, and every time I feel a shred of disappointment because it's just not as good as people say it is. It's a really long ride, which is amazing, but it's really about quantity of airtime over quality. None of the airtime moments on this ride are really out of this world. They all just range from to decent. Maybe if I ride this trimless at night, it will move up, but as it stands, it's stuck here at number 19. Now at number 18, I have Stormrunner, which as of 2022, when I rode this, it was the best ride at Hershey Park. This is one of the best launch coasters in the world. I like how it hypes you up with the Batman voice before the launch.
Now get ready, here we go.
And of course, it's a hydraulic launch, so you know it's going to be insane. But then, unlike many other launch coasters, it's got a fun layout to boot. With a nice top hat and some weird versions, the only thing that could make this ride better is lap bars. Now at number 17, I have Intimidator 305. No, I'm not calling this Project 305, nor am I calling it Pantherian. It is, was, and forever shall be Intimidator 305. And for your information, I will also be calling this ride Hurler. If you don't like it, you can leave. Anyways, Intimidator 305 is a great ride, but it only does two things: intense positives and whip. And while it does do these two things very well, it lacks good airtime, which for a 300-foot coaster is really disappointing. This ride could easily be a launch coaster, and no one would think any differently of it. It does not use its height to its advantage at all, but it is really intense, so I do have to give it credit for that. Now for number 16, we're going all the way across the country to California for Ghost Rider. Alright, now we're getting to the really good rides. Similarly to Formula, this is just a full package ride. You've got great transitions, good floater airtime, a nice rugged wooden feel, and best of all, laterals. Holy the laterals in this coaster are wild. The whole finale is one massive helix that's hardly banked at all. This ride is like if you made a wooden Wild Mouse, but actually made it good. Now heading into the top 15, at 15 I have Twisted Cyclone. Honestly, I don't feel like I have that much to say about this ride. It's just a really solid ride. Great wave turn, really underrated drop. It has a slight twist in it, so you get good laterals while getting ejector airtime. This ride will also always have a special place in my heart because it was my 200th coaster. Now for number 14, we've got Wicked Cyclone. This ride is very similar to Twisted Cyclone, and not just in name, but the main difference is that this ride is longer, and it does help this ride. But I will say that the third lap does get very slow, and some of the maneuvers don't do that much. Nonetheless, the first two laps are great, with an awesome double down and what might be one of the best stalls on a coaster. You wouldn't think it, but the stall on this ride gives some crazy hang time and is a ton of fun. Before I move on, if you've enjoyed this video so far, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel and I would really appreciate it. Now for number 13, we're going back to Six Flags New England for Superman the Ride. This ride is just pure fun. I know their strengths suck, but I'm not sure. There's just something about this ride that's pure bliss. It's got both floater and ejector, some powerful bank turns, and some decent on-ride theming. It's just a really fun ride. I also got to ride it 22 times without leaving the station because the park was dead, and I think that fun experience is part of the reason why I rank it so high. Now at number 12, we have the better Goliath. That's Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is the best Goliath in America. You'll notice that there are very few B&M coasters on here, despite the fact that I've been on quite a few. Most of them don't cut it for me, but this ride is actually nuts. The first half is decent with floater airtime, but then the ride really starts up in the second half. You go through a wicked intense helix that makes me gray out for super long periods of time. After that, you go through a series of 4 airtime hills that give some of the most aggressive airtime in the world. If you are in the back, you get slammed down harder than I slammed your mom. Now at number 11, we have Storm Chaser. Out of all the roller coasters in the world, this is the one I have ridden the most, with over 200 different rides on this specific coaster. Despite this, it has never gotten old, and I love having it at my home park. It has some of the craziest airtime, with both quick, strong pops with the trick track double up, and one of the most sustained moments of airtime with that massive camelback. It legitimately feels like you are flying. My only problem with this ride is that they named everything so weirdly. They called this a corked roll and this a fear helix. Why can't they just be normal? It's not that hard. Now, making it into the top 10, we have Lightning Rod. And just to be clear, I'm talking about Lightning Rod back in 2017. None of this chain rod. And also, I can't lie, I do not remember much about this ride. I rode this when I was 9 years old, and now I'm 17. All I remember is that it blew my mind away and that the twist and shout and the quad down were elite. I do need to ride this coaster again, and I know when I do, it will likely drop very far down in my list, but for right now, it barely stays in my top 10. Now at number 9, I've got Maverick. From here on out, I would say every ride on this list is a perfect 10 out of 10 coaster. Maverick in particular has an expertly crafted layout. It's got an insane launch, insane drop, fun inversions, good airtime, crazy turns, and absolutely demonic stangle dives that genuinely make you fear for your life. This is also another crazy nighttime ride. If you can ride this during their haunt event, please do, because they have fog and it is one of the best roller coaster experiences you can ever have. Now for number 8, I've got Fury 325. Now if you've noticed, most of the rides on here are demonic rip you to shreds types of rides. Ones that deliver super intense and airtime filled experiences. This one on the other hand is not very intense, but it masters one element that makes it stand out. Speed.
Speed. I am speed.
You feel the speed on this ride, and the bank turns and airtime hills really help to accentuate this. Also, the treble clef element is just plain awesome. Getting twisted airtime and then diving under the tunnel is just one of the best moments on any coaster. But this is not the best B&M. That goes to number 7, which is Raging Bull. I know a lot of you might be bad, but do not say a single word until you've ridden this coaster in the back row. This ride is deranged. I mentioned how good Skyrush's drop is. Raging Bull is right up there with some of the most insane ejector airtime. The only difference is that this ride has 5 of those insane moments. Also, this ride has a good mix of forces. Many people don't like the twister aspect, but it helps mix things up with some positives instead of the monotony of airtime hill after airtime hill after airtime hill after airtime hill with nothing unique to follow. For number 6, I placed Hyperion. This ride is just awesome. I mean, it literally has everything. It's freakishly tall, it's got a creative turnaround, some nice large elements, and then some amazing low to the ground quick transitions and airtime pops. I don't even really know what else to say, it's just a really great ride. I do really quickly want to note that Zadra will not be on this list. This is because it decided to fall down during construction, causing me to completely miss riding it. Just breaking into the top 5, I have Phantom's Revenge. Holy this is one of the most underrated roller coasters on the planet. Why is everyone not talking about this ride all the time? It's literally a perfect coaster. The first half is like Fury with a great sense of speed and floater airtime, and then the second half tries to send you to the Kuiper Belt with how strong the airtime is. Very rarely do I feel unsafe on a roller coaster, but with the very loose restraint and then the fact that there's no gate to even stand behind for this ride, I felt like I was going to die when those rows of airtime hills hit. This is one of, if not the best finales on any roller coaster ever, and it does not get talked about nearly enough. Now at number 4, I've got Steel Vengeance. I'm not going to harp on this one too long because I already did a whole video on why it's not my number 1. Long story short, it's a great ride with an insane first half with crazy whip and airtime. The second half is still amazing, just not as good as the first. If you want to hear more about this ride, I'll leave a link to a video I created about it in the description and at the end of the video. Now for number 3, we have one of the most out of control rides in the world, and that's going to be X2. If you don't like this ride, it's either because you're over the age of 60 or you're a wimp, because this is one of the most insane roller coasters ever built. I can't put into words how intense this coaster is. It literally feels like you're flying while on this ride. It's one of the most out of control experiences I felt on any coaster ever. I imagine it's similar to what happens when you try and all at the same time. Now for number 2, I've got Air Force One. Joe Dreves is my dog, dude. When Alan stepped down, Joe had big shoes to fill, and holy crap did he deliver. This ride is mad. It literally has everything you could ever want in a ride. Unique inversions, sustained and quick ejector, a relentless finale, and a well-rounded experience. It's also a pretty long ride. It has a great variety and great quality of elements, with one of the best and most intense inversions ever with that arcade rule. And the best part is that the park is always dead, so you can just lap it over and over and over again without a care in the world. Now for number 1, and you might have already guessed it, it's Iron Gwazi. This is very close to Air Force One for me, and I could easily be convinced to swap them. But for now, this is where it stands. Iron Gwazi does one thing better than every other coaster on this list, and that is pacing. It's relentless from start to finish, never letting you catch your breath. It's got quality and quantity of elements, and it's just all around a crazy out of control experience. I cannot think of a single way to make this ride better. It quite literally is a perfect ride. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate you sticking around. Please consider leaving a like and a comment telling me how much you hated my list. With that said, have a great day.